Okay guys, I apologise for any rattling or the quality of my mic. I will get a better one if you guys do want me to carry on doing these tutorials. But what we're going to look at now is the handle for the fire extinguisher. And we can make this in a number of different ways, but just from my practice, I've always liked to try and reuse shapes as much as I can, just because for something like this that we're going to try and make circle but it's still going to be quite jagged because we're focusing on low poly models, is to take the existing shape and repurpose it, because that way I don't have to worry about creating a shape that has got the same amount of sides and fits exactly where it needs to go. So what I'm going to do is just go back out of poly mode, because I'd left it in there from the last one, and what I'm going to do is, some of you have probably already done this before, but others haven't, is I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to drag the object out. And what that does is it clones the object. Now we've got a couple of different things. The one we're going to be looking at is copy. It creates like a unique replica that's individual of the own. If I was to use, say, instance, any changes I made to the original would affect the new one, and we don't want that, we just want a copy. And it's just going to name it cylinder 2. So we just go ahead and copy that out, and that's created two unique objects. Now what I'm going to want to do is create something that can sort of just sit on top of here, and I can start to build the handle from. So the way I'd normally do this personally is if I jump into polygon mode, I'm going to have to turn off back facing here, because what I want to do is go into one of my side views. So we'll just go for left, blow that up with Alt W, remember? And with back facing turned off, I'm just going to scroll over and delete the faces. Don't worry about the blue bit, that's just this guy here sort of still appearing. Little handy tip, which I've shown a couple of you, is if we hop out of this, when we're working on one object and we don't want the other in the way, we can just hide. And because I've got it selected, we can just hide by selection, hide by unselected, and we can unhide all. So what I'm going to do is I am going to hide selection because I'm working on the handle. So the next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to start making use of the selection tools, and this is your bread and butter of modelling. This is what a lot of your time will be spent doing, using just these 5, mainly 4, because you won't really use element that much to begin with, to start dragging things around. So I'm going to go ahead and hop over to 1. Apologies if I forget to mention anything, guys. You can always see where I am because it's highlighted, so if I forget to mention something and yours isn't working the same way as mine, just take a look at the selection icon. So we're in 1, or we're just going to click vertex, and then all I'm going to do is drag that down to about where I think that is. Now keeping in mind I've got 2 monitors, guys, so I am working from I, you just can't see the image. I'm just going to keep popping it back up so you guys know that I am working from a reference file. Okay, so remember, if your camera starts going nuts, hit Z and it will focus in on whatever you've got selected. Okay, because we deleted the bottom faces here, we're now just left with basically a bunch of faces on their own. So what I need to do is, obviously this is going to be a bar that's sort of wrapped around into a circle. So what I'm going to go and do is I'm going to hop over into edge mode. I'm going to double click and hold control and double click to get those, and I'm just going to, if I can find it, hop into border mode, sorry, because we're using cap, and that's just going to cap that off for me. And then I'm going to jump over into poly. Remember, control select gives you multiple selections, and we're going to use inset again. Now use your best judgment here, guys, because obviously it's going to be quite a thick bit of metal. It's going to take quite a knock in if it falls over, so just think, how thick is it going to be? And because I've got both faces selected, it's applying it to both. So obviously if I accidentally click off, I just got to do the same, but be careful you don't select any faces you don't need or you get some weird stuff happening. So I'm going to go ahead and OK that. And now I want it to drop down, because obviously this is just going to be a flat bit of metal in some cases. Sometimes it might be a full bit of metal, but I'm going to look at this because it just gives you guys a few more tricks to work with. So as before, we're going to use the bevel tool, because that gives us a nice straight drop. It's just gone a bit haywire here, so make sure you've got 0, because that means it's going to go straight up, it's not panning out or in. So remember, you can just type the value straight in. What we're going to want to do is just pull those in a bit. If you just select the top one, it'll be a bit easier, sorry, so get rid of the bottom one. Okay. Now what we can do here is, because we've got this edge, we can delete this one, and we can just pull this one down a little bit. Make sure we don't go past that, so just pull it down, like so. We've already got these faces, but what we can do is we can do a number of different things, but just to make sure we're keeping a clean model, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hop in, because I don't really want to weld all these faces because you can just bridge them faster. I'm going to delete them. So what you can now do is you can just select a random edge and use your bridge tool, and then if you do what we said before about just selecting the ring, but then make sure you unselect the two that have already got the bridge face and hit bridge. That's just going to take care of the rest for you. And now essentially all this bit at the top is a thinner version of what we've already got. So because I was talking about how I model, I like to save time by just using the same. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that like I did with the body, and then all I'm going to go and do is just look at the reference model. So it's thinner at the top because somebody's got to grab it by that part, so they want something small to get the hand around, and it's bigger. So I've shrunk down the top by itself, and then I've just dragged the bottom out, the bottom sides out with X and Y. So remember, I can isolate what I'm working on bit by bit. Obviously that's a bit messy, so I want to grab both of those, and that's keeping all the sides relevant, equal, sorry, but I affected the top bit separately. Okay, so because this video has gone on for a bit, I'll just leave that bit here, and then we'll look at how to connect these up. It'll be a nice short one at the end. Alright.